I want to now give you some insider tips on how much you should bid on contracts. First, you need to think about your own needs. Why are you doing this? How much do you need to make to survive? How much time do you have in the week? And so on. Because that's going to be your first factor or variable in deciding on a bid amount. What is your time worth? Only you know that number. If you're living in a town somewhere with a really low cost of living, maybe you can bid less than other people. I've seen people bid in countries where, $1 a day is all they need, or $10 a day is all they need. So of course they put in quite a low bid. Whether they win or not, it's up to the client, but that is their decision to do that. Price also reflects on clients. So good clients, people you really want to work with, they respect editing and proofreading and they'll pay for it at a reasonable level. Having said all that, I encourage you not to go too low. The bidding system on Upwork does suppress earnings. Don't be the person who puts in a $10 bid for a 100-page book, because that just is an insult to the rest of the editing community, isn't it? It reminds me of that quote by the supermodel Linda Evangelista, who said that she wouldn't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day. Now, I'm not looking for $10,000, but I wouldn't even bother to edit anything for $10. Also, remain professional with clients. You will see their budget number. If it looks really low, do not insult them. A client of mine posted her book job on Upwork and got a reply from somebody who put a huge number. I think her budget was $300 and he put $3,000. And then in kind of a rough way, a rude way, he said that it's inconceivable that you could do that kind of work in a quality way for $300. Now, she put in her ad that $300 was just a starting point. It wasn't the final point, and his rudeness just turned her off. Another factor that's going to influence how much you should charge is the size of the project. If the ad doesn't say how long the book is or how long the document is, please ask the client before you bid. Once you know the length of the document, then you can decide how long it's going to take you, and that will determine how much money you're going to make. And you don't want to go too fast, but also you want to maximize your earnings in a month, so you've got to come up with an optimum speed or rate of editing. I tend to think about what my hourly rate is going to be, even for a fixed rate job. Personally, I want to make $30 or $40 an hour, so I have to figure out how many pages I can reasonably edit of that document within a typical hour. If that calculation turns out to be what I think is a bit high, I might lower it just to give the client a break and ensure that I win the bid. Another thing to consider is the bid amount that's listed on the advertisement for the job. This is usually a pretty strict amount, but if you've got a really good profile and a good rating, you can go higher than that amount. Some clients will put in $10 for a whole book, which is just stupid. But what they are doing is they're not expecting anyone to actually bid $10. They are just putting a minimum. But if that budget amount looks reasonable, then chances are the client has really thought about it and that is their maximum. If you go any higher than that, you're not going to get it. One tip for you, sometimes on some views of those job ads, they don't show that the client has actually put a range in. So on the view you have of that post, you will only see the minimum. And I didn't realize this until well into working on Upwork. One time I bid $300, which was a little bit low on a job because the guy's budget amount said $300, and he chose me. And I was like, wow, okay, I got the job. And then when I actually clicked into the original contract, I saw that he had put a $300 to $600 range. So as you can imagine, I felt kind of stupid that I didn't see that original range, and maybe I lost out on a couple $100. I have one final tip, and it's called bidding against the average. If you've got a paid Upwork account, you can actually see what other people are bidding, not specifically, but the overall range and the midpoint. And I've had some success bidding slightly lower than the average, so maybe 10% lower. So I'm not undermining the whole marketplace. I'm not undermining other people greatly, but I am capturing the attention of the client and giving them pause to think about me and to look at my great ratings to look at the great comments from my previous clients. Finally, I know it can be enticing when you see large budget jobs, so $10,000, $5,000, and you want to bid on those. Just be careful because sometimes those jobs don't actually reflect the amount of work required. Yes, it may be paying you well, but you may have to edit multiple books, or maybe you're looking at 400,000 words that you have to go through. I find the truly big budget jobs do not pay what you're worth realistically. And you might find yourself locked into that job because it's just so much work that you are not able to bid on anything else. In this lecture, I've given you a number of tips to help you maximize your earnings on your bids, and I really hope that you have success. Please tell me how you're doing.